stocks are the #1 factor holding back the U.S. economy. Jobs. The nation's unemployment rate continues to hover at around 9%. A Bloomberg national poll this week found that most Americans do not believe President Obama's $447 billion jobs plan will help lower the unemployment rate. So today, we're asking the big question, how can Washington help business create jobs? My guests are here to help us answer that question. Heather Boushey, senior economist, the Center for American Progress, and we have Todd McCracken, president of the National Small Business United Association. Todd McCracken, I want to start with you. So what does Washington have to do to help business create jobs? What can happen?
You know, you got to figure out why we're not creating jobs in the first place. And we've had all kinds of problems this past year, from the Japanese earthquake and tsunami to European debt crises to high gas prices. But the one thing we have some control over is the tone in Washington. I mean, we shot ourselves in the foot in a really big way this past summer with the whole debate over the debt ceiling and the sense that our government can't do anything right. And that was a huge blow to both consumer and business confidence. And confidence is the single biggest thing we're missing right now in our economy. And if our politicians could do anything for us, I think, is to take it down a notch and see if they can't, begin to work together a little bit, or at least not fight quite so publicly and so profoundly and with such brinksmanship.
Heather Boushey, stop fighting in public, bring it down a notch, and try to instill a little confidence not only in businesses but in the populace. What do you think?
Well, all that sounds like a pretty good plan to me. I mean, certainly that, coming to the debt ceiling debacle that happened over the summer certainly was not good for the economy. And certainly it did make people give them the sense that all is not right here in Washington and the policymakers are not able to come together to solve, as you, Pimm, put it, the most important problem, which is jobs. Now, I would add to this question of confidence that, business owners and employers need to see that there's demand for their products. They need to see that there's customers coming through their doors. And so a big part of confidence, whether or not you're going to go out there and invest, is whether or not you see a market. And so I think that one of the things that the federal government does need to be focusing on is doing what it can to make sure that it's making those investments that are helping to maintain demand in the economy.
Todd McCracken, is it also that the government seems unfocused in a particular area? I mean, we were talking earlier today about the areas in which the government has produced new industries. For example, spending on the military and NASA helped to produce a technology revolution and boom. Is it that the energy has dissipated? We don't know what to focus on specifically?
Well, I mean, there is that. There's not an obvious, new horizon. There's been a lot of attention the last couple of years around, green technologies and clean energy as a potential sort of new boom area for the U.S. economy. It hasn't developed, I don't think, quite like people thought it would. It may still, but so there is that issue. But I think the larger issue that we're facing really is just a fundamental lack of confidence. I mean, I have business owners who tell me that their business is okay, but it used to be that their customers would place an order for a month or 2 months or 3 months of supplies, and now they're doing it for a few weeks. Or they used to have a contract that would last for 6 months or a year, and now they're only getting orders for a few weeks or a month or two because their customers don't have confidence, and so they're doing everything on a very short-term basis.
All right, but Todd, let me just break in here and put to you, given that reporting, that statement based on you're talking to your customers, why do they look to the government in order to instill that confidence? You have this kind of contradiction. On the one hand, businesses say, well, government's too involved in setting rules and regulations, and they want to revamp the tax code. We heard John Boehner, Republican leader in the House, speaking yesterday. So why is it that they would look to government in order to create that confidence? Why not the private sector create it itself?
Well, I think the confidence is created by the government, not by some action they take, but by sort of what they, at some level, don't do, and that's this brinksmanship that I talked about before, and it's the uncertainty about what government will or will not do, what the tax code will or will not look like, that contributes to that, and just the feeling not just on behalf of businesses, but also on behalf of consumers, that they don't know when their shoes are going to drop, they don't know if we're going to deal with this deficit issue, they don't know the taxes are going to go up, they don't know. It's that feeling of uncertainty, and I think the government can do a lot ought to instill some confidence just by their words and actions and apparent cooperativeness.
Heather Boushey, this idea that maybe the government is trying to tackle too much in too short a period of time, is it maybe according to Todd, maybe they just ought to lay off bashing each other for a while and let private industry go back to work? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think the government needs to focus on doing what it can to spur job creation and to get the economy back on track. And certainly not addressing those problems, not taking action, not being able to come together to find some solutions to address that is not moving the economy in the right direction and is not dealing with this problem of confidence and this problem of demand. You know, we saw this week that incomes in America today, family incomes, are back to where they had been in 1996. So when you're talking about businesses in America, they're seeing consumers that have the same amount of money they had in 1996, and they're not actually able to be the kinds of consumers you need them to be today. You need to, and that's what we're talking about. We're talking about demand.